And I like and worship leaves. They say so much to me. And so when fall comes and I am surrounded by sycamore trees that are deciduous and the leaves fall, I like to leave them there. In fact, I like to collect them up and bring them in and put them one on each desk of each of my students. You know, there's that crazy Buscaglia again. You know, I say, isn't it incredible? Isn't a leaf a miracle? You know? And then I start talking about sensation and perception, using a leaf as an example. Then all the people that knocked it off lean over and pick it up, you know. They didn't know it was part of a lesson. Now it's significant. But that old leaf wasn't significant just in its own. I remember a wonderful blind girl in the class. When we were sharing our feelings about leaves, somebody said, oh, doesn't it sound good and doesn't it look pretty? Look at the little veins, and we were sharing all these things about what we saw. And she said something none of us had thought of. She said, doesn't a dry leaf smell good? And I like leaves. And so if you ever see my house in the fall, I have very clean, neat neighbors. And it's clean, 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 clean. Buscaglia's house, their perception, dirty, 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 dirty. And then clean, 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 clean. You see? In fact, one of them has one of those machines that actually vacuums them up. And you see the leaves going, ah! I can't watch. My leaves are safe. And once I was having a seminar, I always bring my students to my classes, from my classes to my home, because I want them to walk into another, I want them to see me in a more human place. And so I like to share my house, because my house is me. And so we were there having a seminar when my neighbors came, and they are beautiful, wonderful people. They're just clean. And there's nothing wrong with being clean. And so they knocked at the door, and I left the seminar for a minute. I went there, and they said, you know, Leo, we know that you travel on weekends, and you work at the university all hours, and so on and so forth, and you haven't got time to do that. Now, we have this marvelous machine. We'll do it for you. Now, you know, they really are loving neighbors if they do that for me. And so I said, no, that's okay. I really didn't know that my leaves bothered you. And I'll go out and clean them up. And so we talked a few minutes, and then they left. And then I walked in the room, and of course, my students were incensed. Cop out! You should have said, this is my house, and I'll do it. I said, shut up! I'm a real non-directive counselor. Mama taught me that. There was never any confusion with that woman. She said what she felt, and she said it loud. I said, get out there and pick up those leaves. And you know, and then I said, clean them all up, put them in barrels, and bring them in and dump them on my living room floor. They didn't believe that. You mean it seriously? Yes, I mean it seriously. Nobody can tell me yet what I can have on my living room floor. And so we dumped those wonderful things on my living room floor, and we sat on the leaves and continued our seminar. And listen, sometimes, you know, I really need my neighbors. I'm glad they're there. Sometimes by giving up something of a lower order, we achieve something of a much higher order. I had my neighbors, and they were happy. And I had my leaves, and I was happy. And it was a very simple thing. And do you know that most divorces and most breakups in relationships that could be beautiful happen over stupid, insignificant, crazy things? I want a divorce. She squeezes a toothpaste tube in the middle, and it drives me crazy. My God, buy two. One, she can squeeze in the middle, and the other, you can be neatsy-poo, curl, 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 and you can both be happy. He drops his clothes all over the house, and I'm his maid. You're not his maid unless you want to be his maid. Leave it on the floor. Walk around it. But what will the neighbors think? Well, the neighbors are just, it'll be their little problem. They come in and they say, what's this? 6 coats on, oh, they're my husband. Isn't he cute? He loves his coats on the floor. And I just leave him there. He has such a nice time sorting them out in the morning. You know, is it worth losing this individual for? And the next time you get really annoyed and angry, examine it. Usually it's crazy. Usually if you sit and examine it, you get the giggles. And you say, isn't it neat being a human being? But I have a few things that I want to share. And one is, you know what frightens me possibly more than anything else in our culture, which is also our right of being human, is our lack of humor. We take everything so damn seriously. We've forgotten how to laugh. Think back, those of you who are my age and beyond, how much laughter there used to be in homes. I don't hear much laughter anymore. You know, I remember my mother, who was really a remarkable lady. She was magnificently rotund. She was a big lady. You know, she just loved oinking out. And that's a quality she passed on to me. Oh, the joy and wonder of food. But you know, Madison Avenue tells us, and it's only Madison Avenue, that we must be terribly slim to be attractive. It depends on where you are. Go to Italy and see who gets the most pinches. The more the merrier. But you know, I remember she used to get to laughing sometimes so hard that she would get down on the floor and she would rock all 180 pounds of her, you know, and we'd be laughing, wondering, what is she laughing at? But I don't hear much laughter anymore. You know, we don't laugh. Things are not funny. We've forgotten how to be joyous. And worse than that, we've forgotten and we won't accept our own madness. You know, let's face it, each of us is a little cuckoo. Oh, and the joy of getting in touch with that cuckoo-ness again. But you know, Asa Jolie, a wonderful psychoanalyst who wrote a marvelous book and set up a philosophy called psychosynthesis, said that one of the reasons that we're always so sad is that we're all in routines. Our whole lives are based upon timed routines. And you know, it's true. He says, follow yourself through a day. You usually get up on the same side of the bed. You put on the same slippers and the same robe, or if you're not into slippers and robe, you wander into the john. You then get the toothpaste, and you look yourself in the mirror and say, oh, God. And then you do 40 strokes this way and 40 strokes this way, and then you go to the john. Then you go into the kitchen, and you make your toast, and you butter it, and you pour your coffee, and you talk about this, and then you get up and you go out the same door. One day, do it all backwards. Just for the hell of it. Crawl over her. You know? She says, what are you doing? I'm getting out of bed. You know, instead of walking into the john, throw up the window in the bedroom and jump out and jog around the house 7 times. Rush into the front door and say, buongiorno, mia cara. Say, guess what? I'm taking you to breakfast this morning. She says, my God, it isn't Sunday. I know, but let's do it anyway. And find out how exciting that becomes. Some of your most exciting evenings, you know, can be when you have almost nothing, but you eat almost nothing by candlelight and soft music. You've had filet mignons that didn't taste as good. Live nutty. Just occasionally. Just once in a while. And see what happens. It brightens up the day. You know, recently I was invited to speak to 1,000 nuns in Wisconsin. 1,000 nuns in Felice. Oh, Mama was in ecstasy up there, I'm sure. You know, here's my little Felice talking to 1,000 nuns. Oh, what a beautiful, loving weekend we had. And you know, when they wrote me, they said, we don't have any money, but this is our coming home to our mother house, and some of us haven't seen each other for 10 years, and it's going to be so nice, and we'd like to have we'd like to base our theme on love, and we'd like to come and have you share with us. And I said, sure, just bring me out, and we'll decide later on. Don't worry about money. And I went there and had this wonderful thing, and everything I saw that I commented on, they did something about it. It was fall in Wisconsin. Oh. But you know, I commented to these wonderful women how beautiful the leaves were. And you know, they all went out and got leaves and gave me a great big bag of leaves to take home with me. I commented on the largest pumpkin I had ever seen. Wisconsin pumpkins are freaks. Enormous. They gave it to me. There was a sister there that made bread that was worthy of any gourmet table. I almost wept. You should see me at a good table. I do cry. You know, I say, dude, what's the matter, Buscaglia? Oh, this is so good. She gave me 2 loaves of bread. And then just before I got on the plane that evening, very late, it was a red-eye flight on Continental out of Chicago. Some of you have been on them. 747, nobody on it except stewardesses. And me, with my pumpkin, and my bread, and my leaves. You know, none of those things. Think about it. You can't check a pumpkin, a bag of fall leaves. I carried them all out. I'm sure they would have stopped me if it had been anything else, but there was nobody in the plane. And so I sat down there, and they put first coffee, tea, and milk. You know, and after that routine was over, then they dimmed the lights. And there's nothing really quite as wonderful as being 100 miles in the air, in dim lights, you know, very quiet, going from nowhere to nowhere, someplace suspended. And all of a sudden, madness occurred to me. And I thought, I know what I'm going to do. And so I went in the center section, and I picked up all the arms, and I took my leaves, and I laid them out. And then I took the pumpkin, and I put it in the middle of the seat, and the 2 pieces of bread there, and scattered the cheese around, and pressed the stewardess button. You know, and here came this poor, tired girl, you know, sort of sauntering back, waiting for coffee, tea, or milk. And I said, look. And she said, oh my God. And she lit up like a Christmas tree. And I said, I want to share all these things. They were shared with me, and I want to share them with you and the other stewardesses if they want to. She said, hold on. And she went and got everybody. They got, illegally, 2 beautiful bottles of California wine. They went to first class and served them in real glass instead of those plastic things. That was the quickest trip back from Chicago any of us have ever had. And we set up a routine. We have an annual reunion in the fall. Because somebody decided that they were going to take what could have been mundane and turn it into a little bit of magic. And because you are human, you do have magic. Get in touch with it. When you feel the insanity rising, don't push it down. Let it come out. Just once, and then let me know what happens. And then I think if we're going to be human, we've got to recognize, for want of something better, a democratic character. And that means the realization that there is nobody better or worse than we are. Nobody better or worse than we are. I have a little trick. When I begin to create idols, and there is a danger in creating idols, I take this idol and I try to fantasize them sitting on the john. Boy, does that make them human fast. You know, do it. Think about it. Farrah Fawcett Majors. How about it? Henry Kissinger. You know, we never think about it, but they do it too. I think sometimes we tend to forget that everybody is human. I always tell a story because it was such a meaningful one for me. I was picked because I was supposed to know something about education to go to a brain bank, for goodness sakes, in St. Louis. Educators, certain about 15 or 20 educators from across the United States, prepared learned papers to deliver at a brain bank. And we went there, and for 3 days we listened to learned papers. Good God. All that I can say is that if the future of education in America depended on those learned people, we are doomed. And halfway through those learned papers, I decided I'd had enough. The madness came up. And I said, excuse me, and I disappeared. And I was walking along the river, and I saw a little old man, no teeth, really what we would call dirty, because we're clean. You know, it's all relative. Drinking a bottle of old, cheap California wine, piece of cheese, big grin on his face, sparkly, Kris-Kringle eyes. And I passed by, and I almost passed him by. And he said, "Good morning, son." Anyone who calls me son is my buddy. So I sat down and we started rapping. We shared the wine, we shared the cheese, and we also shared philosophy. And I said to this man whom we might have passed by, I said, "You know, you look so happy and contented and centered and peaceful. Do you have a secret to life?" He said, "Indeed I do," without a moment's hesitation. "Indeed I do." I said, "Would you share it with me?" "Of course, son." He said, "If you want to live happy all of your life, always keep your mind full and your bowels empty." Now there's wisdom. Nobody asked him about a brain bank. They should have, because I think the converse in our country is mostly true. The democratic character allows everybody to be in proper perspective. Don't envy anyone. You are the magic. It's here, and I love it. And some of you have heard it because I've read it to you before. It's okay, because I want to read it again. And I love it every time I read it. It's something that was in the Journal of Humanistic Psychology, and it was written by an 85-year-old man who had just learned that he was going to die. And it says everything that I've tried to share with you tonight about being human. Magically. And this is what he says. And it's not depressing, it's gorgeous. He says, if I had to live my life over again, I'd try to make more mistakes next time. I'd try not to be so damn perfect. We have a fetish for perfection. I'd relax more, I'd limber up, I'd be sillier than I've been on this trip. In fact, I know very few things that I would take quite so seriously. I'd be crazier, and I'd certainly be less hygienic. Madison Avenue, don't tell anybody, has us in a trap. You know, they've got us now. I remember when I was just a kid growing up, everything that was necessary for personal hygiene we did with 1 bar of Ivory soap. Now we have a little squirt for this and a little squirt for that. Something to put here, and something to wash it out, and something to add it, and something to make it softer, and something for that. And female deodorant, and male deodorant, and baby deodorant. We go into the John now and emerge 1 hour later. And then at night we go in and do everything in reverse. Oils and greases. And it's ridiculous. We're so clean we don't even know what we smell like anymore. Human odors are offensive to us. We're being alienated from ourselves. Just once, go without washing for 24 hours and then smell yourself. My God, this is me! I'd take more chances, he said. I'd take more trips. I'd climb more mountains. I'd swim more rivers, and I'd watch more sunsets. I'd burn more gasoline. I'd eat more ice cream and fewer beans. You know, let's face it, we are deniers of ourselves, most of us. Every once in a while, do your thing. You know, I see people standing in front of the gourmet shelves thinking, should I buy it? But it's $6.95. You know, just once say, what the hell, I'll take 6. Oh, it makes you feel so good. You know, go home and say, what's for dinner tonight? Well, we have only this, but it was expensive. I'd have more actual troubles and fewer imaginary ones. Do you know that 90% of what we worry about doesn't happen anyway? Insurance companies know that. That's why they're so wealthy. We're insured for falling arches and rising arches, open eyelids and shut eyelids, growling stomachs and silent stomachs. You never know. You might as well worry about them. You see, I was one of those people who lived prophylactically, insanely, and sensibly, hour after hour and day after day. Oh, that doesn't mean I didn't have my moments. But if I had it all over to do, I'd have more of those moments. In fact, I'd try to have nothing but wonderful moments, side by side. Living the now, not missing the now. Because that's what life really is, a wonderful series of nows. Not tomorrows, they may never come. Not yesterdays, they've been and there's nothing you can do about it. So you made a mistake, so tough. But there's now. Don't miss it. Everything else is illusion, except what's happening between you and me right at this moment. Don't you know? I've been one of those people who never went anywhere without a thermometer, a hot water bottle, a gargle, a raincoat, and a parachute. If I had it to do all over again, I'd travel lighter next time. You know, Buddha once said something that really moved me when I first heard it, and it's made a difference in my life. He says, when you have nothing to worry about. Oh, we think, isn't that marvelous wisdom? And then we collect and we collect and we collect. And we build bigger burglar alarms, and we worry more about leaving the house, and we buy bigger cars and we're afraid to have them dented. If you have an old junk, you say, run into me, sister. Brother, try bashing me in the back, see if I care. You know, my God, someone put a scratch in the fender. If you have nothing to worry about. I'm not advocating having nothing, but I'm also not advocating being professional collectors. You know, some of us have never thrown away anything in our lifetime. Our closets are full of things we'll never use. We have beautiful china, but we never use it. Well, they're going to chip it. You know, just once, take one and go, gone. Show them who's boss. That was $38.50, Buster. But it was just a thing. If I had my life to live over again, I'd start barefoot earlier in the spring, and I'd stay that way later in the fall. I'd play hooky a lot more. Don't you know that morning when you say, oh, I would like... The one morning that you say, I'm gonna do it. I'd ride more merry-go-rounds. I'd smell more flowers. I'd hug more children. I'd tell more people that I love them. If I had my life to live over again. But you see, I don't. You know, I have a strong feeling that this wonderful quality of humanness, with all of its wonder, is God's gift to you. And what you do with it is your gift to God. Don't satisfy yourself with anything less than offering God the perfect gift that you are. And have a blast doing it. Thank you.